Welcome everybody to Monday Afternoon Roundtable. We got a new topic we're going to talk about today. A good topic that it's interesting. It's background investigations. We work background investigations in law enforcement as well as in the private investigations field. What do you think is the most important part about background investigations?
Every employer could do a background before the hire date. Mm-hmm. Not all do.
No.
But I think if it's anything involving health, money, trustworthiness, anything, you should have a thorough background check done before any hire date.
Yeah.
And if you refuse to say I don't want a background, that would end
tells
it
you
for
right
me.
there what.
Yeah.
And most employers put that in a waiver. Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody is applying for a job, they'll sign a waiver saying that they agree to a background investigation. And we can assist and have assisted employers, family members looking, mm-hmm. At potential dating people
yes.
for their children. We've used it for politicians.
Yes.
We've had them want to do a background investigation on themselves or their, political opposition. And background investigations are important. And that way, especially for employment, I think, because a lot of our problems that we've done with executive protection or protecting somebody or a company after a firing could have been prevented because the person had red flags that would have shown mm-hmm. in their background investigation.
Absolutely. We just did a big one back in, was it February or March?
Mm-hmm.
They had done a background check. The company did one. I don't know what service they used, but she showed it to me there in her office, and it showed nothing. And we pulled one. It was a mile long.
Yeah.
He was a convicted felon, was he not?
Yes,
mm-hmm.
absolutely. Armed robbery.
Yeah.
So the service that she was using as an HR manager there missed that completely. And when we ran ours, it was a big deal. I mean, it was he had multiple felonies and stuff, and he had they just missed it completely.
Yeah, so, and it's basically you get what you pay for.
Right.
Correct.
And us as investigators, we have access to databases that are more thorough mm-hmm. than just the average citizen, but they're also compliant with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act,
mm-hmm.
which there's certain limitations which we can't find or can't use or employers can't use, and the database searches that we use are compliant with those ahead of time. So we know we're within compliance when we run a report on John Doe.
And you have a $25 background versus a $500,
mm-hmm.
and you can even do an in-person background check through surveillance.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you want to go that in depth, and when you start dealing with home health care, medical field, babysitters,
mm-hmm.
daycares,
you got somebody coming in your home, you didn't know who it is. And what about them?
And that's a requirement. They're required by law to do background checks before hire date. But
I remember when I did background investigations for potential employees at the police department, we had 250 to 300 questions we'd have to ask. We would check all their references. We would check all their prior employment, check their credit, check their criminal history, check their social media, check their application to make sure it was truthful and that everything that was on there was corroborated.
With that being said, if you lie on a resume and it's caught during a background check, you're done.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
You lie about that, what else will you lie about?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to tell you a little bit about your work history, your education, your
mm-hmm.
criminal history, your credit history. You go just keep it going. Your driving history is a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they say, well, he's not going to be driving for this job, but still.
He's got to drive to get there.
And what kind of responsibility if he's got 4 or 5 DUIs or DWIs or careless and reckless driving. You know, that shows character to me.
Quick story about the driving history. A friend of mine, years ago, he owned a delivery and warehousing company, and he'd get me to drive a truck for him from time to time. So he wanted me to run a trip to Cleveland, Ohio, and he said, if you'll be down here and pick the truck up about 3 o'clock, I'll have it loaded. And I was going to go home and sleep a little bit and then drive overnight. So I get there at 3 o'clock, and he's kind of sitting at his desk. He says, got a little problem. I said, what? He said, we need to go to High Point and get the truck. It's not even loaded yet. I said, why is it in High Point? He said, it's in impound. So long story short, we had to go to High Point and get the truck. He had an employee who'd been working for him for 2 years as a truck driver and didn't have no license. He'd never checked it.
And I hate to say it, but it was his fault.
It's all on him.
Yeah, he didn't check
it was
that.
all on him, but, you know, had to go get the truck out of hot before I could run the trip.
Yeah. You know, and with a background check, they can check your employment history, your education, your criminal history, your credit history, and they should include a waiver. You know, have the applicant sign a waiver saying that they are okay with these checks and stuff. And we have, I know here at our office, we have at least 3 or 4 different databases that we have subscriptions to.
Yeah.
And each one, you know, has a different, like if we run it through all 4 databases, we're going to get 4 different reports. Some are going to show some things and some are going to not show, but they're going to be very, they're going to overlap.
And
you
something
compile all 4, you got it all.
Something you got to really look close at is father, son, same name, senior, junior, or John Smith. You know that you got to really pinpoint to which person.
We
you're
did one
looking
last week. It was the 3rd. It was John Doe the 3rd, and we did the background check on him, and then his dad. It kind of rolled over and showed them all, and his dad had an extensive record. The guy we were actually looking for just had a couple of things, but the dad had an extensive record. But he was the junior, and then it went back to the senior, and he had a record. But you know, it all showed. All of it showed up when you pulled up that name.
Yeah, and there's 2 points I want to. It kind of goes back to what you're saying, and I want to go back to what we talked about last week. In doing skip tracing, part of the main part is doing the background investigation. You know, we do the homework part here in the office, but going back to what you said earlier about we can even do the background investigation through surveillance or canvassing an area where the person lived, you know, talking to neighbors, talking to past employers. We don't just do
their references. Some can help you sometimes.
Yeah, and also you'll have developed references where a reference on the application, you know, you might ask them, hey, is there anybody else I can go talk to? And they say, yeah, go talk to Joe Smith, you know, and, you know, he used to work with him. He'll know more about him, and you go talk to them. You know, it's basically like working any kind of investigation. You do the office homework, and then you do the field work as well. The more a client wants, the more we can put into it.
That's it.
You know, it's all willing what they're asking for.
The more work you can put in here, the easier it is once you get out in the field.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and sometimes you can do enough here, you don't even need to go in the field.
Yeah, and that's true. And like I said, it's important in today's world because, you know, everybody wants to make the best of their situation, but sometimes people basically lie, you know, or fib or whatever, and you've got to catch that, especially if it's an important job. Like you said, if they're caregivers, if they're working with children, if they're working with money, things like that. I would suggest, you know, if I had a business where I hired anybody, I would do a thorough background investigation.
Exactly. You know, you can get online and look at the news. I was going to say the newspaper. Not a lot of people read the newspaper. Seems like somebody's embezzling money from somewhere every time you look at the news. You know, somebody in a position of authority had a way to get to the money or the checkbook. You know, it seems like that happens more often than not.
I remember when I started in police work, and I know it was true with you, and even with firefighters, it'd be the same thing. If you had poor credit, it could be a disqualifier. If you had bad credit,
they've been doing credit checks for years on them
because you know you would be subject. You would be a higher possibility of embezzling or taking money. Like if you go to a death scene and the person there dead's got $500 cash in their wallet.
Yeah. Go to wreck scene, there's money thrown all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as my career went on, after the housing market crash of 2008, we still did credit checks, but it wasn't as big as disqualifier because everybody's credit.
A lot of people got put in a tight spot.
Took a ding.
Yeah.
That's like the background checks that we used to have in the nuclear industry. They concentrated more on credit than they did criminal.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That tells a lot about you.
We had guys that I mean, they had some pretty bad criminal records, but their credit background was clean. So they concentrated more on the money issue, you know, for being bribed or what have you, you know.
Yeah.
And you think about bribery with a nuclear facility, it could be something as dangerous as international espionage, or it could be business espionage, telling one power company a trade secret.
Yeah.
And that you know, you see a lot of that nowadays. We also could follow up on non-disclosure agreements. Like if somebody leaves one business and goes to another, you know, did they disclose that on the background? Is it, you know, if you found that out and they're applying to a business which they shouldn't be because of the non-disclosure, you know, all kinds of things like that.
Right.
Non-compete.
Non-compete. I was going to say.
Yeah, non-compete. That's one. Yeah.
Tim and I had a call, and she was wanting us to do it later in the year. A non-compete deal. She wanted us to see if this person had left her place, signed a non-compete clause, and see if she went to the other place and is doing it and wants to do it later. But we've had a call about that, so that's something we do, a service we offer as well.
Oh, and a background investigation. If you're loaning money or you're any kind of lender or anything with, you know, a car dealership or anything like that, I would suggest doing a thorough background investigation. Or if you own property and you're going to rent it out to somebody.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and you know the way the laws are now, it's hard to get somebody out of something once you get it in there. I mean, it's a big deal. So definitely want to know what kind of people are in your property.
Yeah, and like I said, we can do something as simple as doing a basic criminal history all the way up to an advanced search of everything you can think of, and it's basically what you need specifically or what you're wanting. And we can also, like you said, go door to door in the neighborhood, talk to neighbors, talk to references, past employers. And I think you get a lot of information that way. You can even get, when somebody's telling you something, if you're looking at them face to face, their body language is going to tell you something that you know,
can't find out.
You know, they might not want to say it verbally, but they might roll their eyes, or you know, and it can give you something to maybe follow up on.
What did you dig y'all anything on Graham Leach?
Yeah, just basically it was a law passed in 1999. It was the Graham Leach Bliley Act, which made it where certain financial information about your credit was private, and you couldn't use it against anyone to a certain extent. And if you did find any information that you could use, it had to be confidential between you and the employee and the employer type thing. What is good is all the databases we use are compliant with that act and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What it does, it limits access for credit information and requires PIs to protect data and prevent unauthorized distribution. And if we are found to have done that, there's civil penalties, which we could, you know, us and the client that hired us would have to pay. But like I said, what's good about this is these databases that we use are compliant with that.
And they're very strict.
Yes. Like in order to get access to these databases, you have to get a background investigation done on you. You know, you might have to make sure you got your credentials. You can't just be anybody. You can now, Joe Citizen can get access to certain databases, but it's very, very limited. I have found out that we can find more information in North Carolina as a private investigator than I could as a law enforcement officer.
Really?
Yes. as far as general all around information.
Right.
Now, criminal history type stuff, we could find out more as a law enforcement.
Probably easier too.
Yeah.
Some of the databases we got are kind of hard to go through. Once, I did one last week before. It printed off. It was, 50 pages. A lot of, and 44 pages of it stuff you didn't even need to know.
Yeah,
but
and
it was big.
Oh yeah, and it's very thorough, and sometimes it may take a day or two turnaround. Sometimes it's instantaneous. It just depends on what you're asking for and what you're looking for. Again, it's something that we offer that I'm surprised we don't do more of.
Yeah,
it's much needed, I think.
Well, I think a lot of people just think, okay, I'm going to Google them and see who's in jail page or something like that, and that's really nothing, compared to the past. I mean, I think people don't understand they could call us and we can do what we can do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I had a call last week. A lady, she's getting ready to marry this guy, and she wanted a background check and a history and some other stuff that we weren't able to provide. I told her up front. I said we can't do that, but it's something we offer, and more companies should take if they need a good thorough background check, they should give us a call.
Yeah, and it's something that's, the more information the client can give us, the better we can do. And we've had some impossible tasks before where somebody comes in, hey, all I know is this guy's name is Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Charlotte, and he's a white male, and he's around 50.
Yeah, you're out.
I mean, we got to have a starting point, and you didn't give us one.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to have certain search parameters that we can.
Tim and I had a case, 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago. Very common name. We couldn't nail down a date of birth.
Took us a month.
It took us a month to nail down a date of birth, and it was a very common name. We just didn't have anything to go on.
Mm-hmm.
We pulled it up, and there's, I think, 53 people with that name in North Carolina or something like that.
Yeah, North Carolina alone.
Yeah. So, and we didn't know, was he born in North Carolina? We know he's here now, but until we got once we got a date of birth, we was good to go.
Oh yeah.
And so you got to have something just besides a name. 99% of the time.
How many times, and like you brought this up a few minutes ago, you see in the newspaper or on television, a person is working for Little League Baseball or as an umpire or a janitor at a school or whatever, and they have a conviction for selling drugs, or they got a conviction for molesting a child, but they got hired anyway, and then it comes out and people's like, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the $1 million. How does that happen? Yeah. How do you not do something like that? How does something like that
be around
slip
kids and needs to be checked from one end to the other,
Kids or the elderly.
The elderly especially.
Yeah.
That's
the same category to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where something, they're not able to defend themselves or
not think fast enough to in the case of an elderly, they can still think, but somebody can have them scammed before they can think about it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're looking at businesses like daycare centers, schools, what do you call them? The rehabilitation centers, geriatric,
after school care places, daycares,
in-home health,
in-home health,
everything,
retirement homes, anything like that. Anything dealing with money, transaction of money, anything dealing with company vehicles, anything dealing, if the job requires somebody to be bonded, then you should do a thorough background investigation on them.
Right.
Anything dealing with public, to me, it's an investment that's going to pay for itself.
Exactly.
You might pay a little bit up front, but it's going to save you in the long term, because then you're going to have to pay for all this stuff. It costs money to fire somebody or to terminate somebody.
Probably costs a whole lot less to run these background
checks.
But they're not 100% foolproof either. You could hire a clean driving record, and it's still not guaranteed that this person's going to fall off the cliff.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't think that that's a guard for you, but it is a great tool that employers should use.
Yeah.
Is
anything else y'all want to add to it?
like you said before, you could do a $25 versus a $500 background. It's just you get what you pay for.
I've had a local politician. I'm not going to say who or where, and they paid $1,000 to do a thorough background investigation on themselves to see what would come up on. And I think that was smart. It's kind of worrisome if you think about it. If somebody's got something they're worried about, but it's tactically smart in the political realm, to know what is available on you. But I would also do that to any of my, who I was running against. Nobody in this world's perfect.
If you're running for office, somebody's going to dig something up on you.
Oh, yeah.
You might as well dig it up on yourself.
That's what we always
first.
said. If you're filling out a resume, be truthful because it can be found.
Well,
And that goes back to your education, your criminal history, your credit history. It can be found.
Going back to the references, you put down references and you call and check references. Tim and I doing a skip trace had 6 references on there. Guess what? 5 of them, the number wasn't him in service. He just made up some numbers and wrote down there. So just you can't go on that. Pay somebody to do the real thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just say, okay, I got 5 references. They all said he was good. Well, you think he's going to put down the phone number of somebody that knows the bad on him?
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I've had cases where a reference is a real reference. It's a real number, and you contact them, and they give a negative reference to that person.
Well, we called a reference the other day, and he said, I hadn't seen or heard from him in years. I used to work with him. I can't believe he put me down.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know where he's at. I hadn't seen him.
He gave us the last known whereabouts, but that was old information. Actually, the place he said he left work with me and went to work here. So we called that place, and it was out of business. So, it was way old information.
Yeah.
But you can go, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
I'm
any of
leave
you
it
watching,
on that.
any of you watching on our Facebook, go to our Facebook Monday Afternoon Roundtable and shoot us a message. If you're interested, we can get you a quote. If you're a company and or just need anything, we can get you a quote on what to work with you to get the best report for what'll work for you.
Yep. And we can specialize and make it exactly specific in what you need.
Yes. And go in the field if we need that. So, reach out to us if that's something you're interested in on the Facebook page. We check it daily and get back to you.
And what do we got coming up on our last call?
Jimmy Beam.
All right. Well,
Devil's Cut.
Devil's Cut of Jim Beam. Well, we'll be right back with that. That's gonna be a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Like and share. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're back.
Back.
We got a Jim Beam Devil's Cut.
Jim Beam Devil's Cut. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Jim Beam out of Frankfort, Kentucky.
Pour right quick, and then Mark's going to read a little bit about it.
Got a good light color.
Mm-hmm. It's golden.
I believe that's got a little horsepower.
Yeah, that's why they call it Devil's Cut. It's not Sissy's Cut.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let me read a little information about that here. They extract this dark and intense liquid from our charred barrel walls and blend it with extra-aged bourbon. Jim Beam Devil's Cut is a distinctly bold bourbon full of rich, intense flavors. If it tastes like it smells, it's definitely going to be an intense flavor.
It's 90 proof. Good looking.
How much was it, Tim? You remember?
What was your average? It was around $40.
Okay.
That's not bad.
35,
Yeah.
$40.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen it. Never seen
I've never
Devil's
heard of it.
Cut.
Turn it around where I can see the label. Okay.
And Jim Beam is a very popular.
Old.
Yeah.
an
Popular around these parts.
Old distillers.
Yeah.
One of the oldest. Let's see what
Let's
we
give it
got
a
here.
try.
All right.
We'll talk about our week when we get done. Cheers. Tim's already drinking. Give us your first impression.
not a real bad kick. I was thinking it was going to be.
Had a real strong smell.
The kick's on the back end.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yep. Not bad at all.
I'm beginning to think the second taste
The
was
second
a
was
little,
a
had a
lot
little
better.
more kick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flavor's good.
It is. Got a
Yeah,
good flavor.
it's not bad at all.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It
You
seems
reckon
like
that's
each week we experience something a little bit different from each distiller to the other.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree, and I'm still so new at this. I can taste differences, but it's hard to say what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say it's
Yeah,
this
some people
flavor.
it tastes like oak.
I'm
Yeah.
not to that point.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
but
not either. I've never
That-
tasted till I started with y'all guys
One
doing
little
this.
history about this is Jim Beam's wife. Can't remember her name. Let's call her Miss
Miss
Beam.
Bean.
Mm-hmm.
You see that wax thumb mark there?
Mm-hmm.
She was the person that gave Maker's Mark the dipping of the wax.
Oh wow.
Jim Beam did but she started that.
Are they the same distiller, or are they two separate? You know how some got different names,
Yeah.
but they're under the same.
I imagine. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But she was the one that started this.
Okay.
And that's back in the old days, it had a red wax print
Yeah. Okay.
on each bottle. And Maker's Mark, they still dip theirs.
Dip
And
Yeah.
each one's different. Or
Each one's hand dipped.
Yeah.
But a little history on Jim Beam.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Tim?
I'm going to go 8. 8.5. Good drink.
Yeah. It'd be a good drink to sit around and sip. Jason, what do you think, bud?
I like it too. I'll give it an 8.
I'm gonna go with 8 as well. It's definitely good. That bottle won't go to waste if it sits around long.
No, it's good. And it's good for the price. It's,
Yeah.
I think the third drink is better than
it's
the,
good.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's getting a little bit of your ice melted down. Just a splash of
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
is going to,
Jason, how's your week been, bud?
it's been pretty good. Worked a little bit on some workman's comp
I
stuff.
know you were out of town a couple days.
Yeah,
doing some interviews.
Yeah, so it's been pretty good. I got some paperwork done here at the office. Worked on some marketing stuff. Just not busy, but not
Yeah.
crepidly slow
Yeah.
either.
Tim
at
and
the
I
moment.
picked up a skip tracing deal, and we worked on that about all week. A couple of them, I was up late a couple of nights in the middle of the night, out chasing around, and looking forward today, kind of taking it easy, doing some billing paperwork here in the
Yeah.
office, and going to do a little work on a little marketing here for the Facebook page and stuff.
David's out of town.
David's out of town working.
His second
Yeah.
Thursday being gone.
Yeah, he
didn't
was
it?
going on Thursday last week.
But that's a good thing. That means we're busy.
Yeah, then staying steady, like we ain't covered up, but we're steady.
That's one of the good things about this job is you're never doing the exact same thing each day. Now you're doing similar things, but each case is different. So each report's different. Each billing thing's each surveillance is different.
Yeah,
It's
never a dull moment. That's
No,
for sure.
no.
The only thing to me that's dull about it is sitting there typing up a report.
Mark and I subbed a PI out from the eastern part of the state this week, and that worked out well.
Made a good connection. Turned
Yeah.
out to be a really nice guy.
Real good guy.
He jumped right on it for us and,
Yeah.
and got us what we needed.
Saved us about, I would say, saved us 12 hours of work.
yeah.
Yeah,
Plus, you build a business relationship
Yeah,
where he will
exactly.
utilize you guys
Yeah.
when he needs something
Yeah.
on
We
this
did
end
a-
of the state.
we did a paper service for a law
South-
firm out of South Carolina this
Yeah.
week too. So we
Now,
made,
another good contact.
made a couple good contacts this week, Tim and I, which
We're still growing.
we're still growing. So
We
had a
got
good week. Looking forward to having a good weekend, taking it
we
easy.
got more training next weekend. We
Yeah,
got
we didn't talk
we'll,
about our
We'll be
training.
back down here for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for our
Annual firearms.
in-house training. So we got that going on. So we'll be shooting next weekend.
busy couple weeks.
Father's Day's coming up.
Oh yeah, it's a big day.
Yeah.
All of us are dads, so
Yeah.
that's always enjoyable.
Yep. So Anybody got anything else?
I guess since
Well,
it is
good.
Father's
Ready?
Day, that was Dad's favorite drink was Jim Beam. So
Yeah.
There you go.
That
we
worked
didn't
out
even
good.
plan that, so
Yeah.
it worked out good.
I was
didn't it?
55 when my dad passed and never saw him drink alcohol, not
Really?
one swallow. Yeah. I told him one time joking, as he got dementia, he got his sense of humor. He was always all business. And as his dementia set in, he kind of got a sense of humor. And I guess I told somebody it was God's way of kind of taking the pain away where you'd have a laugh in among, you know. And I would always joke. He'd say, "I've never drunk a drop since I was adopted, and Mom and Dad tried for a long time to have kids, and I was adopted. And when they finally got me and it was all done, Dad said I'd have a beer once in a while, but I quit. I said when I got a kid, I was going to quit, and I never saw him take a drink, and he died when I was 55. And but I told him, I said, I've drunk enough for both of us, so don't
There
worry
you
about
go.
it.
Story about our dad. I guess I was 40, in my 40s when Shannon got married.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was in my 40s. Was the first time I seen Dad drink a beer.
Well,
He ordered a beer at the wedding. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, He said, "I don't want to, you know." And he took, and the bartender said, "Well, what kind?" He said, "Just give me a beer." You know, he didn't even know what kind.
Nothing about that.
well, I remember we were at your old house in Sawmills, the old over there off Sawmill School Road, and we were doing something, we're painting something. It's me, you, and Dad, and I don't even know if I was 21 or I had to be 21 because he sent me to go get it. He said, "Go buy us a 6-pack of beer," and I said, "What kind you want?" And he said, "Whatever."
Cold.
So I went to Lenore and bought Ice House or something. You know, that was the popular beer at the time. And me and you and Daddy split a 6-pack of beer on your.
Yeah, I'm thinking, you know, he I guess he stopped drinking when he retired at 58, and I think he stopped drinking at 60.
Yeah, I would.
Never took another, you know.
Yeah.
So
He wasn't a big drinker, not like a.
No.
But he enjoyed.
He really
enjoyed a drink or two, but he wasn't a drinker.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
He loved to sit around and have a drink with his buddies, and they'd
That's what
cut
it's all
up
about.
and
That's
laugh.
what it's all about. You know.
I remember I was 16, and he called. He said, "Call some of your buddies to come by. I need, help doing something." And I said, "All right." I didn't even ask what it was, and they got there. There's 2 or 3 of us, counting me, and he gave each one of us a crowbar, and he said, "All right, we're going to tear this bar down," because he didn't use it anymore.
Right.
I mean, he said,
Right.
"Well, it was in our basement." He said, "Well, I don't have a need for it, and it's just in the way if I'm not going to use it." So
Wouldn't you? We like to have that bar.
I know. I wish we'd have
That's
never
a
done
sad
that.
day when you tear the barn down. The bar.
His brother was a high end. What do you call that when you upholster car seats?
Auto upholstery. Yeah.
He was high end in that, and he had some of his work in some hot rod magazines and stuff. But he come and leathered diamond cut that bar for
Right.
Dad. The whole thing, the outside of
Yeah.
it was
That
leather,
thing was cool.
and it's beautiful. But when he decided he wanted, don't need it anymore, he got rid of it.
Yeah.
I about fainted when I went in the basement. It was gone.
It made it bigger though, but
Yeah.
but I miss it. I mean, because it was just neat looking.
Yeah.
A lot of memories in there too, I'm sure.
And like I said, I don't ever remember him ever being drunk.
I don't either.
Ever.
He just enjoyed a drink.
Yeah. And it wasn't a daily thing.
No.
It was it was always occasion based or social based.
Yeah.
So
Anyhow,
yeah.
we're on season 2, episode
3?
4.
3 or 4?
Four.
Okay.
Like, share,
Like and share, and like I said, feedback on the Facebook page.
give us comments.
Give us a comment or suggestion of something to try. Next week, I've got a buddy that makes moonshine there at his house, just a little bit at a time, and he gave me some to try. It's blueberry,
Oh, that'd be
and
good.
It is.
I told him we
I've
would
tasted it. It's
I'll give-
smooth. It's smooth.
I told him we'd give it a try on here. It might be a special addition to
that'd
to
be
our
good.
regular.
Yeah.
But try to bring that. I didn't bring it today, but we'll try to bring that next week. And I told him we'd do it on our podcast and see what he'll give me a little bit of it in a jar, and he'll say, "Now tell me what you think. Tell me what you think, and I'll change it next
Oh,
time."
yeah.
And So he would be excited for us to try it.
We'll do that next week.
So we'll do that next week. Maybe David will be back with us. And
well, yeah, we'll have to do it Thursday because Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we're in class.
Yep.
No, it's
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
He don't know what day it is.
I don't even know where I'm at now. Happy Father's Day,
Happy
everybody.
Father's Day to all the dads, and see y'all soon.